Stadia podcast for episode number 122 of your weekly Stadia show, where we round up all of the gaming and Stadia news for your listening and viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games, or up there in the digital cloud on your podcast preference of choice. You're joining myself, Chris, one of your hosts for today's show, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. It's been a bit of a slow news week, this one, though.
Just a little bit in terms of Stadia specifically, but my word, have we got one hell of a show for you viewers and listeners this week. That's right, the arguably biggest news in video game history of the last decade probably happened this last week, and we'll be breaking all of that down for a terrific show. As I said, episode 122, we've got all of the big Microsoft news, we've got all of the GDC news that's starting to bubble up as well. We've got a lot of AAA games that have got dates coming into spring, so we're going to be talking about all that. A new potential Chromecast to rival the fairly new still Sabrina potentially, and much, much more. But before we get into all that, thank you and an amazing shout out to all of our viewers and listeners who support us every single week here on YouTube or on the podcast services that you enjoy the most. And we wanted to shout you out, say thank you very much. And don't forget to hit like on this video, subscribe, and click that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the great content we bring you here on the channel. Just like our first looks, just like our Let's Play series, our special side quest episode, and boy Richie, we've got a good couple of episodes lined up. Folks who watched last week will have seen we broke down Square Enix's titles for 2022, what they've got coming in the pipeline. What are we talking about this week?
This week we are going to be talking about EA.
EA Games.
You may have noticed a theme.
Yeah, there's a bit of a theme. It's early year. We didn't expect any big news until Phil Spencer decided to rip the lid on his bank account and start the year off big. But also, we've got a very, very special guest lined up for episode 52 to celebrate one whole year of SideQuest, and we're thrilled to have this guest on. We can't wait to sit down and talk with them, and we'll be keeping that in the pipeline for the year special, and you'll see it soon. But our members do get that early. Even this time around, Richie, we might even let them have it a little bit earlier than usual.
Yeah. Tell you what,
maybe unsure.
I haven't even thought about that, to be honest. I tell you what, I'll do for members. As we're recording 2 episodes of SideQuest today, so you will get episode 51 today, as you expect. As soon as I'm done editing 52, you'll get it. I don't know when that will be. It's probably going to be on Monday. So by the time you listen to this episode, it might actually be live for members.
2 double-barrel SideQuest episodes.
I'm not guaranteeing it. It depends how I feel when I wake up, if I can be bothered to do it.
Wow.
Because I'll have a full week to do it. So you will get it at the latest next Sunday.
Such a tease. But yes, we're through all SideQuest. It's made it to a year. Congratulations again to you, Richie, for hosting for a whole year. And I can't wait to sit down and just talk about games. But that's not, I was going to say that's not what you're here for today, but you are literally here for that. Yeah. It is the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 122. We've got a great show, so let's start getting into it by kicking things off, Richie, with what we've been up to, what we've been playing. And this last week, we had the first AAA title launch on Google Stadia, and that, of course, was Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Extraction. We dived in on Thursday. Give me some first impressions of the game.
Well, so I really enjoyed the first-person shooter mechanics of Siege. I think, for me, I feel the nicest of any first-person shooter. I don't like the full-on chaos that you get in things like Call of Duty or Halo for first-person shooters. I do prefer the more tactical stuff. The problem is, I suck at multiplayer games. This fixes that problem massively. This was so fun.
Yeah, I completely agree. So for those who aren't aware of what Extraction is, it's Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege world being invaded by an alien menace known as the Archeans, and essentially, yes, it's 3 players in a fire team. You take on different objectives within a set mission campaign, similar to Siege. It's in fact anything. The maps are actually replicated from Siege with an alien twist. And you go in, you complete different objectives, different game modes with similar operators that you're familiar with from Rainbow Six Siege, but with that kind of alien twist. Special weapons that cope with them, alien eggs, bugs, stealth aliens, and you and May jumped in this past Thursday with our wonderful community. Played along every Thursday. We do live streams on the channel, by the way, folks. So if you are playing a game you want people to play along with, different community members, jump into one of our streams. We always rotate players in and out so everyone gets a fair shake of the stick. And as you said, Richie, Not great anymore at first-person shooters when it comes to PvP. No. However, giving me some AI aliens to kick ass against.
It's really fun.
We did really well.
I've seen some reviews that says as you play more and more into the game, because we've only played a couple of hours each, it gets a bit samey. But then Siege had the same sort of reviews when that first launched. I think as Ubisoft continue to support this game, add more content, add more operators, it will grow.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that we should probably highlight the fact that it's dropping in around the 7 out of 10 mark, I think, across Metacritic and reviews. A lot of the gaming podcasts I listen to throughout the week, everyone who's played it has said they've had an absolutely brilliant time.
But then it peters off as they play more.
Yeah, naturally. But as you rightly mentioned, Rainbow Six Siege is in its 6th year, and Ubisoft has supported it crazily well. Yeah. So I'd imagine with Extraction we will see seasonal events, different game modes, and of course the player base as it stands is huge because of the introduction of Game Pass and its full cross-play. So even when we played, I think the first game we teamed up with someone on PC who was playing via Ubisoft Connect. So there is room there for development, but from what we played, I had a great time. I think
You know what I actually noticed, because I've got Ubisoft Plus now for Extraction. I jumped into Ubisoft Connect on PC and just to see what was there and just have a bit of a mooch around. And I could launch Extraction through Ubisoft Connect on my PC using Stadia.
Yeah,
I could launch it straight into Stadia, which is that's pretty cool.
Seamless. It's almost like click to play. It really, really works. So we'll most certainly be playing more of Rainbow Six Extraction. As you said, Richie, yourself and me picked up Ubisoft Plus subscription for the first time because on Stadia the game was coming in at like £44.99, and I'd imagine what we've got out of the game. Does that merit the?
I think that's a bit
fee?
Steep for what the game is, to be honest. I think it's a £30 game. It feels like you can see this had its initial intentions as being probably DLC or another game mode in Siege, and then as the ideas grew, they spun it off into its own thing.
Yeah,
but it doesn't feel like a big AAA title standalone. Yeah. It's a very good game. I do think it's probably the £30-35 mark is probably about right. So it's a bit on the high end, but Ubisoft Plus.
I would agree, and we've had discussions about this about different free-to-play games and how Battlefield 2042 was asking for a full £60, $70 when Warzone is free, and how does just an online experience stack up against a paid content?
Yeah. The thing is, though, if you're going to put hundreds of hours into this game, that price is just a drop in the water.
Completely true.
So it really comes down to, I think with multiplayer games and games as a service, stuff like this, it all comes down to how much time do you think you'll put into this game? Do you think it's worth the price for entertaining you for that length of time?
Yeah. And I think with Extraction, for me, I would really be interested to see in a world where it probably had a campaign, because it does feel like the narrative of the Archeans, it has more of a story element to it. Like, what happened with the invasion? What happened with the Siege team and the crew who were going in? And it just feels like in another world it would have been priced at £60, but it would have had a full 10-12 hour campaign of missions, extracting teammates, learning about the Archeans, where did they come from, what is their reason for being on our planet, how the government deals with it. And yet instead we get a little cutscene at the beginning of the game, and then it's kind of go kill bugs.
You know what would be cool? Give me a crossover with the Division 2, so you can run the story stuff through who the Archeans are, why they've turned up for like the Division, and then you can keep Extraction as is, very focused on the multiplayer, getting in, playing through the map, jumping into the next one.
Yeah, and this is where we get into that weird world where Extraction is kind of a Tom Clancy spin-off that includes aliens, and it's not a gritty, grounded shooter in the real world with stealth and espionage and governments tossing over things. It's a concept that I think they can spin off into other titles though. So indeed. So from what I've seen, everyone is enjoying Extraction. Do let us know in the comments below if you've checked it out, if you've played it, if you've enjoyed it. I've seen mixed things going around, but you and myself really enjoyed it. We'll certainly be playing a bit more. I've actually had a bit of an itch over this weekend to jump in and play a little bit. However, I've been playing other things at the same time, Richie. So before we get into the news, what else have you been playing aside from Extraction this past week?
I picked up the Platinum on the Tales of Arise, and I've rolled credits on Pokemon.
Oh wow! So
it's a double whammy this week.
Wow, just ticking things off left, right, and centre. That's terrific.
So,
and what's next on the horizon then?
I think it's going to be King of Bridge of Spirits.
Yeah,
I think I'll probably start that next week.
Beautiful. I'd highly recommend it for anyone who's not played Kena Bridge of Spirits. One of the best games I've played in the last year. I think you'll really enjoy it. I'm really curious to see how you cope with the Master difficulty. As like me, you're not much of a Dark Souls, Demon Souls fan.
Yeah.
And the game isn't like that at all until you switch up to the Master difficulty for that Platinum trophy. So,
do you have to play the full game in the Master difficulty?
Yeah.
So basically, to get the Platinum, it's 2 playthroughs then. Unless you're going to...
I think I did... First one, story mode, finished it in about 10 hours, 12 hours. And then, the Master difficulty mode was like... I might not have been 10 hours. But the Master difficulty mode was so tough.
Is it unlockable, Master difficulty? Or is it you have it straight from the beginning?
Yeah, I think you have to do one playthrough. And then it
all right. So I'm probably going to go on the highest difficulty I can just to get used to it, to psych myself. I've done that before where it's like, you know what? This is a new game. I'm just going to go on the high difficulty and just learn this as a challenge if I know there's going to be a Platinum that's difficulty bound.
Yeah, so early doors when the game first came out digital, before it was patched, you could glitch the trophy by doing the last mission, and then after you complete killing the boss, you can just pause it, go into the difficulty, up it to Master, and then the trophy pops. That's since been patched, and I waited for the physical copy, so obviously the physical copy came with the patch already installed on the disc, and I had to do it the hardware, folks, but I'm proud of it. Yeah,
I picked up the digital copy in the I think earlier this month when it went on sale.
Yeah, so you have no chance.
So yeah, it was an opportunity. So I'm going to play this game. Oh, that's a decent price. I'll have it.
Yeah, it's highly, highly recommended. As is actually A Plague Tale: Innocence. I said I've got a little bit of time before Uncharted comes out at the end of the month, and I've kind of got nothing on. Obviously, playing Extraction and FIFA and all those like little tiny games in between. Not tiny games, but you know what I mean, like short attention span games. Pokemon, I'm still chipping away at. But yeah, Plague Tale: Innocence. Finished one full playthrough. Story's fantastic. Mechanics are very Last of Us, but without the action. It's more stealth and puzzle solving, with a cool like slingshot, and there's rats involved, and it's really very, very well done game. Doesn't get as much praise as I think it probably should, but the sequel was just announced, so hopefully these are the type of games that we will expect to migrate over to this platform eventually. They're not AAA, and they're certainly not owned by Microsoft, so we should hopefully see these things in the near future. But yeah, my next one's Uncharted next end of month, so not too long to go. But let's move away from what we're not playing on the platform, Richie, and get into the big stories of the week. And let's kick things off by you introducing us to the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news.
And what a news week, Richie. Not many stories, but just one mega behemoth story that has sent ripples through the entire gaming industry. And of course, this is first and foremost a Stadia podcast, but we would be naive and stupid to say this doesn't impact Google Stadia or the rest of the gaming world by not covering it as our main topic of this week's show.
Yeah, as you alluded to in the intro, it's like this is potentially the biggest video game news, full stop. Like,
yeah,
and it seemingly came out of nowhere.
Yeah, no leaks, no we hear rumours Microsoft are thinking of doing this. But before we do get into the number one story of the decade, century in gaming, shout out to our two newest members as well who have joined the channel, Barry Dunn and John Burford. Thank you very, very much, gentlemen, for signing up to the channel and becoming a member. You now get a Stadia controller next to your name in the chat. You get access to our super stickers, and more importantly, you get our side quest episodes, which Richie's promised there might be 2 this coming week, with a very special guest and a very great episode indeed. You get them up to 6 days, if not even a whole week and a half early right now, so go check them out on YouTube. Thank you for your added support, gentlemen. Remember, if you want to support the channel and us grow, find new people who are big fans of cloud gaming and Stadia, don't forget you can do that by hitting join on the YouTube video below. But Richie, back to the story. We can't hold the floodgates back any longer. Where do I even start? So let's start by laying the ground with the news. So this week, midweek, Microsoft, I think it was The Verge or Bloomberg or Financial Times, someone picked it up, and essentially everyone in stateside in the United States was still asleep when this news broke. I think I was working. I was actually this news was that big.
I was at work, and I just happened to glance at Twitter, and I saw this news, and it came from. When you have to double check something, like where am I reading this? And it's like
is it reputable?
news.xbox.com. It's like, oh shit. This is like as legit as you can get.
Indeed, yeah. It's so big. I was doing a session with work, and I mentioned at the beginning of the conference call that I was a big gamer as part of my introduction to people I don't know. And it was that big, like someone actually stopped me doing my job to say, Chris, have you seen the Xbox news? And I was like, what? We're in the middle of some work-related stuff. No. And then, obviously, we went on a comfort break for a cup of tea or coffee or whatever. Quickly checked my phone, and you and some of our other friends were popping off in our chat groups just going, what? How? What? Why? So, again, to lay the ground for those who don't know, who somehow don't know, Microsoft have acquired, or are set to acquire, we should say, Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion. Billion with a B, ladies and gentlemen. That is right.
That's behind the couch. That's when you're looking behind the couch for any penny you can get to put together for this. Like, ridiculous.
It is, yeah. It's absolutely insane. So, to put that in a concept, I'll read from the Microsoft, the Xbox blog, in fact. So, yes. As a team, we're on a mission to extend the joy and community of gaming to everyone on the planet. We all know gaming is the most vibrant and dynamic form of entertainment worldwide, and we've experienced the power of social connection and friendship that gaming makes possible. As we pursue that mission, it is incredibly exciting to announce that Microsoft has agreed to acquire Activision Blizzard. Over many decades, the studios and teams that make up Activision Blizzard have earned vast wellsprings of joy, respect from billions of people all over the world. We are incredibly excited to have the chance to work with the amazing, talented, dedicated people across Activision Publishing, Blizzard Entertainment, Beanox, Demonware, Digital Legends, High Moon Studios, Infinity Ward, King, which is a big one, Major League Gaming, Radical Entertainment, Raven Software, Sledgehammer Games, Toys for Bob, Treyarch, and every team across Activision Blizzard. Until the transaction closes, Activision Blizzard and Microsoft Gaming will continue to operate independently. Once the deal is complete, the Activision business will report to me as CEO of Microsoft Gaming. And of course, I could read on. Definitely head over to the blog to check the full article in its entirety. But Phil Spencer...
My first take on this is last week Take-Two announced they're going to buy Zynga for 12, 13 billion, and Microsoft turned around and went, hold my beer.
Hold my beer indeed. Yeah. So, we're going to be talking about this for a while. We need to break it down because there's so many different caveats to this.
It's a very complicated story. There's lots of facets to this.
So many much. I think we should start off by saying if you're somehow unaware of Activision's IP and what they own, is we're talking right off at the bat, at the top of the pile is probably Call of Duty. Yeah. Microsoft is set to acquire Call of Duty. I think we did over Christmas, actually, Richie, we did the top selling Christmas games of, the number one Christmas game for the last 20 years. And Call of Duty has been consistent for, I think, the last decade or so, bar maybe one or two missed ones. But MPD reports, Call of Duty is the best selling game of the last decade.
Yeah.
Per year, every year. Even the bad Call of Duties still are the top selling games of the year they release. That just shows you how much Microsoft have just acquired in just one IP.
There's a reason why Activision just turns everything they acquire into a Call of Duty support studio, because Call of Duty makes them so much money. Any other games, regardless of how profitable they are, just don't even come close. Which
is sad.
I've got views on. I don't particularly like, but whatever.
Yeah, we'll get into all that, of course. Yeah, so Call of Duty is one of them. They also, as part of Blizzard, they have World of Warcraft.
Well, we should just say they have Warcraft full stop. So
true, yeah.
Because that means all the entire Warcraft franchise is now going to be under Xbox.
Yeah, all the old,
which is very interesting, actually.
Yeah, I've seen loads of people say, does that mean they'll come across the console? Now,
yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that take as well. Warcraft 3 Reforged was done absolutely tanked, so it's entirely possible that Xbox will look to fix that.
Yeah,
potentially even take the series forward. Well, Warcraft has kind of been on a decline. I think it's one of them games that's been around for so long. It's just natural that it would decline. But I also think the controversy stuff, which we've never really talked about, because we haven't really talked much about Activision Blizzard on this show.
I mean, unfortunately,
Activision, bad guy. Activision, Bobby Kotick, and there's a lot of the people in there, not good people. That's the short summary of that. But I think that has pushed people away from World of Warcraft. Mm-hmm. And Blizzard are no longer the well-respected company that used to be. So this is one of the interesting things that we could see. We could see Blizzard go back an upward swing, because they also have other franchise. StarCraft is huge.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, Diablo also huge. Overwatch also huge.
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, Overwatch 2 obviously is still in development. We don't know when that's coming out, which is going to fold in the original game into the sequel as well in some form. But there's so much, and we should probably say as well before we get into the really meat and potatoes of this story is that, like, we're covering it as part of the Stadia show because Microsoft and by proxy xCloud and Microsoft Gaming this move has a definitive impact on not only Sony, PlayStation, Nintendo, but the future of Stadia and Google, because they're taking franchises potentially, most likely, off the table for ever coming to this platform. Well, the reason it's impactful is, like, Stadia has no legacy with these brands, and we'll get into what Phil Spencer's came out and said regarding the other platforms in a while, but it's taking more of the cake away from what potentially Google or Amazon or GeForce Now could even have on their catalog. So and what other IP, Richie? My biggest kind of take from the whole thing as a huge Crash Bandicoot fan and Spyro fan, PlayStation mascots back in the day, they're now owned solely, or will be solely owned by Microsoft, which is the most ironic twist of platform mascoteering I've ever seen.
This is almost akin to, like, Sega buying Mario.
Yeah.
I don't think in terms of, at the time of the PlayStation 1, very much Spyro and Crash were very much the PlayStation mascot. I don't think they are anymore. They've well past that. Mm-hmm. So, but imagine back in the console wars, like, it's weird. It's not like Sega buying Mario. It's like Nintendo buying Sonic is probably a better fit. If Sonic is now becomes a Nintendo mascot,
it's so
kind of weird.
It is. It really, really is. It's like if Marvel turned around and said, "We've acquired the rights to Batman," and it's like, "What?" But he's your, like, it's so there's so many weird things, but kind of like digging into that, we know there's, like you said, Diablo, there's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series was just revived,
and then immediately Vicarious Visions got pushed to be, I think, the Diablo support studio at the moment, potentially.
It's one of those. They are it's that one. So I guess that obviously as a whole, Microsoft is set to acquire some of the most beloved franchises in gaming history.
Yes.
And then the legacy and the money making that is Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, like, these are into themselves, they are multi-million-dollar making IP without everything else.
When Microsoft bought Bethesda, this was a huge deal. It was a massive thing. Oh my god, this is like earth-shattering. That makes this look like a speck in. It's a drop in the pond compared to this. Like Activision. This is like Sony buying EA, like, and going, FIFA is now going to be a PlayStation exclusive.
It's bigger.
It's that sort of tier. Like, it's.
Yeah. So to keep breaking again, we'll probably jump around quite a lot because, like you said, there's so many
angles.
Like tendrils to pull on from this one. Another thing which you alluded to slightly there is the studios that have been folded into Call of Duty support, and I think the way Phil Spencer, future CEO of this mega Microsoft Xbox corporation, is that he can revive previous IP that Activision owned, but more importantly, give studios, I think, a breath of fresh air and life. So, like Toys for Bob, Beanox, as you said, Vicarious Visions, who worked on the Spyro and Crash reboots and the Tony Hawk's one, they no longer, you'd like to think in theory, have to just work as a Call of Duty support studio. So hopefully this, as much as it'll be really weird if Crash Bandicoot is not on PlayStation going forward, the fact that the marsupial actually gets to live on rather than just stay stagnant in support Call of Duty in a weird way, it fills me full of hope that these franchises are not just going to die a death.
I mean, Microsoft in the past, when they've bought studios, they've pretty much took a hands-off approach and gone, you know what, you report to me, but you're doing good things, crack on with them.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a very different case in this problem with all the issues that they are around Activision Blizzard. I don't really know much about King. It's always Activision Blizzard that comes up, but with Bobby, especially surrounding Bobby Kotick, I very much expect that Microsoft are probably going to look at the studio. There's probably eventually when they do, because until the deal goes through, they're completely separate legal entities. Microsoft have no influence. Mm-hmm. When the deal goes through, I think Microsoft are probably going to do a top to bottom review of every single studio. There's probably going to be a lot of layoffs of get rid of the toxic people. I imagine they're going to restructure things a lot, and it's probably what it needs. It needs these studios. This publisher needs that fresh air. Needs someone to come in who is not tainted by what the company's become, and kind of going, right, you and you, we don't like you. We've got piles of reports that saying you're a horrible person. Off you go. Yeah. You can go off with Bobby. You guys are all good. We're going to hire some new people in, maybe move some people from our other studios to help really ramp these back up. And then we're going to look at the catalogue of games and going, right, what can we do with this? I think Toys for Bob, Vicarious Visions, especially like the Crash remakes and the Tony Hawk's remakes, well received. Like, okay, you guys go back to doing that.
Yeah.
I still think I think Activision will probably still remain just Call of Duty.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be that much shake-up, and we've seen, you alluded to it there with Bethesda, how they've pretty much said, just continue doing what you're doing as your own like kind of mini division of Microsoft, keep all your studios with the same heads and the same leadership, and we'll just work with you to make great games. And I think you're totally right, there has to be some change, and you've mentioned like the toxic like Bobby Kotick and all the issues that come with him and the board and the culture that they've got around there. I think this is a great out for the people who work there.
I think that toxic work environment that's come to the fore over the last like 12 months, and it hasn't left the headlines, crucially, and it is hampering Activision Blizzard. I think that's what's made this acquisition possible.
Yeah, it's kind of like how much
it's like
does
Bobby
a brand
Kotick
take?
He's clearly been just trying to ride this out and let it pass, let the news cycle move on, and it hasn't worked. So I think, and it just seems to be ramping up all the time. So I think this is what's enabled this deal.
Yeah, I always just get the vibe it's gone on for that long, but he's clearly that rich and so detached from the rest of the world that he just doesn't care. He just doesn't care. Like, I've heard rumours this week that he tried to buy Kotaku and PC Gamer just to quash news articles about his business.
How authoritarian of him.
Exactly. And then there's other things where he's gone into board meetings about staff and HR policies, and he's just left early. And he clearly, the guy doesn't give a shit. He's a multi-millionaire.
That's the problem. He's the problem, and when the CEO is a problem, that is going to be passed down throughout. He's going to be people close to him are probably going to be... There might have been good people at once, and then might have been tainted by the culture, and then that just keeps pushing down and down and down till the people at the bottom are just getting abused, basically, and it's not good. And like, I don't think there's a way back for Bobby Kotick in this industry. I think it's been very much, that's clear, you need to go.
Yeah, and this is because I don't want to spend too long on that because we're here to talk about games. We're not here to talk about the politics of internal work.
It's hard to avoid it in this topic.
It completely is. My biggest thing to kind of put a pin in that and move back to the games, I would say, is the amount of money and someone. It sucks. Like Microsoft essentially are coming in to hopefully resolve all these problems. The culture Phil Spencer and the team have got Microsoft. It's infinitely better than what's going on at Activision Blizzard. What I absolutely hate from this whole deal is that the dickhead gets an easy escape where because the shares have sold for almost double, he's going to leave his payout for this buyout must be in the millions and millions for that one individual. So what does he get for being an arsehole for the last 5-6 years of his life? Even more money.
Reward.
And that's like, oh, come on. Like that's
he's going to he's going to take his money and run. You'll never hear of him again. He'll buy an island in the Caribbean and live there. Like,
you could buy several islands in the Caribbean for that much.
But it's not definite that he's leaving. It's just very well assumed. I've heard mixed reports on whether he's going to be staying or leaving. I don't think Microsoft can actually announce he's going until they own the company. Yeah, I think it's just one of them.
Consensus is that once it's gone through, he's fessed out the door.
He's so toxic. Microsoft is just not going to keep him.
He also doesn't really have a place though now. What if once they're under the Microsoft umbrella officially, they all report to Phil Spencer? So what is his actual role anymore? Because
that's one of the things that I found funny about Phil Spencer's statement is like he points out very strongly they will report to me.
It's
I will be in charge. That's decided. Even if Bobby Kotick's there, Phil Spencer's in charge.
Yeah,
Bobby Kotick would respond to Phil.
They put out that kind of family tree where right at the top was Phil and below him was the wider team. So we'll put a pin in that one because we could go in a whole conversation about that unto itself. But back to the games, we said about stuff being revived, and you mentioned studios.
Yeah,
Microsoft now in the last 5, 6, 7 years, they have tripled their studio and development teams to a point where they could pull out any let's remember Microsoft have Banjo-Kazooie, Richie. They could go to Toys for Bob and go, you did a great job with Spyro, go to make a brand new Banjo-Kazooie game.
Yeah, they could. Well, this is why I think an interesting thing could be with the restructure is you keep Activision as the Call of Duty side, so they only do Call of Duty. Blizzard do the traditional Blizzard side. Then you pull all the other IP and just give them to other Microsoft studios, instead of things like Toys for Bob or Vicarious Visions being Activision Studio or Blizzard Studio, they now just become Microsoft Studios. And so you can go, you want to make a Crash Bandicoot game? Do it. We'll publish it. Microsoft will publish it. Mm-hmm. So because Activision Blizzard will be a part of Microsoft. Microsoft can just go, you don't need answers to Activision Blizzard. Blizzard focus on World of Warcraft and Overwatch and Diablo and StarCraft. Activision will focus on Call of Duty. Everything else, you can all come over to us. I think there's some really good things that could come out of it. It's not. I don't think this is all rainbows though. I think the worrying thing is, I think we've alluded to with last week with Take-Two buying Zynga is the consolidation of mega corporations buying these studios.
Yeah, there's the conversation around a monopoly that I've seen come into it, but the reality is they're not purchasing anything physical. It's IP that's value is based on it. Call of Duty is based on its brand, its identity, but the reality is you've just bought the words Call of Duty and marketing. You've not actually acquired anything. So I look at this as companies acquiring companies for a monopoly. It's you're going horizontal, you're purchasing the competition around you. This is a vertical monopoly where I think you're just stacking franchise Disney do. It is, but because it's IP, it doesn't have any physical, tangible worth. It's just a name.
Yeah, I don't know if I fully agree with that. I think the interesting thing will be the knock-ons to other platforms. Specifically, Sony is going to be the most interesting one because their share price did take a hit when this news was announced.
20% or something. Plummeted, yeah.
I mean, I imagine that will move back up, but if Microsoft have pretty much confirmed, like they did with Bethesda, they're going to honour all outstanding contracts. But beyond that, I think Call of Duty is going to be fair. It's going to be exclusive. I think that's the way it's going. I think that's the way it's going to go. If Warzone's still going around in a couple of years' time, that'll still be on PlayStation and probably still getting all its updates and stuff. But new Call of Duties will be probably Xbox exclusive, and it's going to be that era in a couple of years' time to see how the industry shifts. What Sony's response is, because if that doesn't affect Sony much, the sales are still going through to the same sort of rate, then it's not a problem. If Sony start tanking in sales and everyone's moving over to one platform, I think that's bad for the industry.
Yeah, there's so many ways to approach this. So for extra context, Phil Spencer, after all the Sony thing and all of the news journalists and everyone started panicking saying, what does this mean for Call of Duty? And as always, all the bad websites picked up going, Sony is now acquiring Ubisoft and acquiring EA. A company of that size cannot react within 24 hours that quick. So it's all bullshit that you're hearing. But Phil Spencer came out and tweeted out saying, I had some good calls this week with leaders at Sony. I confirmed our intent to honour all existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Sony is an important part of our industry and we value our relationship. There's a few other things he said in the last few days, and one of them was, if you recall, Richie, he said many, many moons ago now, our competition isn't Sony and Nintendo, it's Amazon and Google. It's these tech and Tencent. It's these tech conglomerates. This, for me, kind of adds to that actually, the way he worded it, not that particular tweet, but the way he spoke in interviews and stuff since, saying he appreciates and respects Sony is a gaming company. They're in it for games. Nintendo is a gaming company. They're in it for games. They don't want to rock the boat. They're all gamers. Yeah. Their business is centered around that.
I think
these other
Microsoft,
companies,
Sony, and Nintendo have probably realised that these three can coexist quite nicely for an extended period of time. It's the upstarts coming into the industry.
Well, that's it.
With new tech, who are trying to redefine things that they're a bit more. Where are you going to take that piece of the pie from?
Yeah, and I can completely see. Whereas if Tencent came in and acquired Activision Blizzard, that would be different. I think conversation.
That's very different to Microsoft, because Microsoft are one of the three big platform holders.
Yeah, that's where these.
That's where the difference comes in.
Change it. But the proposition that kind of comes with all this is, of course, is the impact it could have on. And when the tweet that he put out, it's not an official kind of business statement, but saying you'll honour existing agreements, that could just mean the contract for the next two titles. That doesn't mean anything beyond Call of Duty, whatever number they're up to.
I mean, it might mean he decides, you know what, Call of Duty, it's in our best interest to just keep on PlayStation as well.
Hey, it makes like 250 million per annual for PlayStation, so there's money to be made.
But Call of Duty might then just go, you know what, PlayStation, you can have it. It's going to be $60, $70 to buy, but or you could come over, buy an Xbox, and you have it on Game Pass for free.
Yeah.
But from a Stadia point of view, I think this kills any chance of Activision Blizzard stuff coming over.
Yeah, so that's our next biggest thing to kind of keep it relevant to the podcast, of course, is we've theorised for a while, like, Call of Duty probably won't come for some time because of how much support it requires, because it's a huge game, but like Warzone, and similar reasons Fortnite. There was
no rumours around anything Activision or anything Blizzard or anything King coming to Stadia.
Not at all.
And so now that they're being bought by Microsoft they don't have a vested interest in keeping it and bringing it over.
No, and I think you're totally right. So from a Stadia point of view, it's Microsoft and Google. As Phil said, they're bigger rivals in his opinion than Sony is to them. But then you've got the added element of the legacy on PlayStation. Call of Duty's been there from its inception.
Yeah.
Minecraft was there on PlayStation already, and Microsoft done a great job at supporting Minecraft across these brands. However, Google Stadia, Amazon Luna, and GeForce Now as well, because they don't have Activision titles currently, as far as I'm aware. There's no precedence. It doesn't exist. So
there's no benefit.
Microsoft
clearly see the future of gaming in the cloud. Mm-hmm. And I predicted that the current Xboxes might potentially be the last box of that style. You might move over to like a dongle that you plug into a TV, similar to Chromecast.
That's rumoured, yeah.
But I think the whole buying a game or putting a disc in a drive or downloading it, I think Microsoft see that as there's a clock ticking on that. Mm-hmm. Which is why they're interested in what Amazon are doing, what GeForce Now are doing, what Stadia are doing. And what they've just effectively done is taking basically made a monopoly for Call of Duty in the cloud. It's like, you can't have this unless you pay us an extortionate amount of money, which you're not going to do.
I mean, no, they're not. The amount of money they've just dropped on Activision Blizzard is probably more than Google has spent on Stadia.
You don't spend $69 billion to then give it to a direct competitor.
Yeah.
Who there's no legacy of these games over there.
Yeah, I think
so. It's not bad guy. Right. It's not even like bad guy Microsoft pulling this away from Sony. It's just like, no, you just can't have our things.
Yeah. Again, honouring existing agreements. I think, as you said, things like Warzone, like Lives as Service games. I think the entire back catalogue of Call of Duty games, Modern Warfare and stuff, they'll always exist. And I think you're totally right. This could be a case of, in a few years' time, once they have full ownership, there is nothing to stop them saying it's exclusive to Xbox, the new game. You can still have your Warzone, you can still have your Minecraft, but anything new...
Warzone, we're going to keep supporting Warzone, like they keep supporting Minecraft, but Call of Duty Black Ops 9 is going to be an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah. And I think the other thing we've not really touched on yet is I could see them still playing fair and saying, right, if you want to buy this year's Call of Duty on your PlayStation or whatever, it'll cost you £70.
Yeah, this is what I actually made.
I could see Sony saying, Microsoft, going to Sony and saying, we'll still allow you to have Call of Duty, so you'll still make your per box unit sale. However, we'd like xCloud on the PlayStation 5.
We want Game Pass over there.
Yeah. And I can see
that is something they could do. Use this as leverage and go, you know what, Sony, you're interested in Call of Duty. We're happy to bring it over, but it comes with Game Pass.
Yeah. And
you can take a percentage of all the Game Pass sales on your platform.
Yeah. And you know what? With someone who's got a PS5 and that doesn't own an Xbox.
I'd love Game Pass.
I would love Game Pass on my PS5. That would be so fucking cool if I could just go along the apps to Game Pass.
It solves so many problems for me as a gamer, because I've said many times the reason I've never bought an Xbox is because their first party exclusives don't particularly interest me, where Sony's have, and the third party stuff is equal across the board for the most part. So I've always went Sony rather than Microsoft, and I can't really afford two boxes. If I could get Game Pass on Sony on my PlayStation, that solves all my problems as a gamer.
Yeah, you're committing to the box for your exclusives from Sony. You get the benefit of all this. Sony gets the money for the console and their exclusives. Microsoft gets the monthly payments for Game Pass.
And just throw Stadia streaming tech into the mix to finish it off.
I mean, this is the dream cloud gaming offers us, right? The ability to jump around without the console, but we're not quite there yet. Like, cloud gaming is in such its infancy. However, you're totally right. I think to put a pin in that story, Microsoft have just bought exclusivity in the cloud for Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, and there is no chance of them showing up on Luna and Stadia, I don't think. And we know the games are pulled from GeForce Now, so Xbox are out.
Overwatch is a huge game, and now if you can just play that in the cloud on the go, imagine how many kids who love Overwatch and can now just stick a Razer key sheet on the mobile phone and then just play on one subscription.
Yeah, it's insane, and we'll get to Game Pass in a bit, but I do want to spend a bit of time, Richie, just talking about the sheer amount of money this cost. 68.7 billion, and to put that into context, we actually said when we covered the Zynga story last week, Disney paid George Lucas, or Lucasfilm, 4.4 million for Star Wars. Yeah. The entirety of Star Wars, 4.4.
The reality is, gaming is the biggest growth entertainment market. Activision Blizzard are probably the top. Maybe if you take
it revenue and stuff,
for revenue, maybe Sony's first party exclusives are up there, but I think in total this deal makes Microsoft third place in terms of the overall rankings. I think Sony are sat at number one. I can't remember what the number.
For the revenue gaming, it was.
But as just a single publisher, I think they're definitely in Activision Blizzard, definitely top 5 on their own.
Yeah.
So that's like huge. That's probably at minimum 10% of the gaming industry you've just purchased.
Yeah, so you'll make again. They're going to need to make the money back at some point. You can't just go throwing cash around this without a contingency to make it back over the next few decades.
Microsoft owned Candy Crush. Like the fact that Candy Crush is on the official marketing for this purchase shows that how much Candy Crush is still raking in the money.
If you look, Richie, at the mobile gaming charts, Candy Crush has been top for like 8 years now. Like it's not going anywhere. It's the top downloaded played game. So and what this does now is this
that's just a money spinner for them.
Yeah. And this now adds mobile gaming to Microsoft's division, because in the past they haven't got like they've got mobile games, but not like a focused division that's raking it in. So
and now they have
about that much.
Well, they've got King, so if Microsoft want to publish anything mobile division, they just give it a King to do. Yeah. Done.
Definitely, it's getting done. But the money, I did have a little chuckle to myself a few times this week with all
I know where you're going here.
Different journalists who they round it up. So 68.7 billion, like I said, 4.4 for Star Wars. 68.7 billion. I saw loads of articles round it up to 70 billion. I don't think when they wrote that headline, they can comprehend the difference.
You can't round up a number by $1.3 billion. Like, I know people can handle 68.7. Like, you don't need to round up to 70. It's not going to make it sound any better or worse.
Not at all. If we put that into like coins, Richie, if you're going
to round it up, go for 69.
Yeah, if I got 1 billion coins, $1 billion coins, Statue of Liberty on them. I know the people in the States don't like them; they prefer the notes. But if you got 1 billion of them coins and put them in a room, like, it would just fill the room tenfold. Okay. Times that by how many you've rounded up by, so 1 million coins. Yeah. 1 billion, you'd need I don't think a human being can physically comprehend how much money that is. So journalists out there, you can't just round up by a billion because it's just an astronomical amount. In fact, the difference they rounded up could probably purchase half of the rest of the games industry. If you went to any studio and went, oh, I've got to spare 1.3 billion, you could buy anyone. How much did Sony pay for Insomniac? Like 300 million? And you just rounded up by 1.3 billion. You could buy Insomniac 5 times over for the amount you've just rounded up.
Right. I found a nice comparison point. Do you want to know what the GDP of Croatia is? So the gross domestic product of an entire country, 55.97 billion. This deal's worth more than Croatia.
Oh dear. Stadia's out in Croatia, right?
I don't know off the top of my head. I think so.
Yeah. I just don't.
I just googled some random European countries, see what the GDP was to find a good comparison.
Yeah.
That's the sort of level we're talking. We're talking like the gross domestic product of countries.
Well, at what point does capitalism get scary, Richie?
Oh, well past that.
Well past that. Like I said, Taco Bell wins the franchise wars from.
We're at the point where it's so ridiculous. It's not scary anymore because the numbers are incomprehensible.
They just don't mean anything to poor me and you. Who January is a long month, and I don't know about you, but I'm running out of funds for the month of January. I cannot wait till payday next week. These sons of bitches up here, they don't have to worry about that once.
What we're talking about here is Microsoft could have effectively made like 6,000 millionaires with this money. Just get 6,000 people and go, there's some money. You're now a millionaire. Have fun.
Congratulations. You no longer have to work. Oh, we can dream, Richie. One day this channel might take off and Microsoft might look to acquire us. But until that day, let's wrap up this story because there are some other stories of the week and Stadia stories. We'll be talking about this for months to come.
Yeah,
because, yes,
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
Oh, it really does. And I hope you're enjoying the conversation, folks. I kind of still do want to hang on it a little bit longer, though, because the impact then this has on Game Pass, which arguably is a competitor to Stadia Pro. Not, although we say competitor, it has to be used so lightly now because Game Pass, the value of Game Pass,
they're not comparable. Like Game Pass, like Stadia Pro is comparable to PlayStation Plus. Game Pass is its own thing entirely now. It's in its own category. Like,
of course,
25
like million
the Bethesda. I think
now.
the Bethesda deal pushed it into its own category. To be honest, this is just now. It's way front. Game Pass is by far the best value in gaming. Like, it's 100%. Not even close.
If you're one of the people out there who's lying to yourself and saying, "Oh, actually, Stadia Pro's got really," it doesn't. Come on. If you have not played games for a long time, one of your friends said, "I'm looking at getting back into gaming. I've got an itch
Game Pass.
for it. Where do I go?" In Game Pass nets you Halo, Gears of War, Forza, Call of Duty, Fallout, Doom, Spyro, Crash, and EA
honestly,
Play, and probably soon to be Ubisoft Plus. You know, the content wars.
My honest
Microsoft
assessment,
are just.
If one of my friends or colleagues or family members came up to me and went, "Richie, I'm interested in getting into console gaming. Where do I start?" I go, pick up yourself an Xbox Series S and get Game Pass. That'll get you in. That'll get you in the door.
And then again, xCloud is obviously combined with that to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Once xCloud gets out of its kind of like, I know it's not in beta, but that once xCloud gets on the level of performance Stadia and GeForce Now with their next tier are able to put out, you with a dongle stick, get your xCloud Chromecast stick for 50 quid and you get access to Game Pass on you. And smart TVs will have xCloud on in the future.
Yeah.
Game Pass is just phenomenal. And like, and again, we're both PlayStation centric gamers.
Yeah.
And you can say like this blows away any bias that I might have because Xbox is killing it with Game Pass.
If one of my colleagues came up to me and went, "Oh, my kid wants to get into gaming, what should I do?" Xbox Series S is currently £249 on Amazon. Game Pass is £7.99 a month. That's what you do. £7.99 a month. That's Netflix money. That's just a subscription fee that people just used to paying. Like,
yeah, it's. I mean, again, it's like in today's world. I the last 2 years have probably questioned purchasing games day one more than ever because now they're getting to that £70 mark.
It's getting tasty.
It is, yeah. It's that point where it's like you're pushing. And not pushing close to 100, but £100, like £70, £80 for like maybe a collector's edition or a deluxe edition, and it's like, you know what?
And if it's a smaller title that you might only get like 40 hours out of, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Where I've been playing a lot of JRPGs and like regularly clocking in 100 hours on games, so it's not too bad. I think the nice for me is £1 per hour. It's a good metric.
But again, with Game Pass, like you said, why would you pay £70 for this game, £70 for that game, £140 within 1 month when you could pay less than a tenner and get 80 titles, if not 100 titles, I think are on Game Pass right now?
Right,
the value's insane.
Game Pass is about £100 a year. It's £95.88 a year.
Yeah.
If you get a monthly subscription, that's 2 games.
Less than 2 games.
Yeah, it's less than 2 games. So.
Yeah.
Damn it, Microsoft! You've broken the gaming industry.
I like having physical games. It's so weird. And again, we know Sony are going to come out, but Game Pass, and the reason it all ties back in with Stadia is because as a direct competitor in the cloud, this is the type of shit they're dealing with. Like, you have to combat this, and I think they all can coexist. We know that, but in terms of throwing your money around and acquiring the right content to keep people subscribed month in, month out, when people now go, oh, I've finished Halo Infinite, I might cancel Game Pass this month. Then they go, oh, you know what, Call of Duty's out this month. And then you go, oh, I might cancel next month. Oh, Spyro's out next month. Crash Bandicoot's out next month. Then there's Microsoft have that many studios. They can keep Game Pass having fresh content in circulation, like Netflix do, like Amazon Prime do, so you never cancel that subscription. And Richie, at 25 million subscribers, all paying roughly a tenner a pop, that's a lot of money per month that can then go funding back in. And that's why these acquisitions, they're not getting them for the IP, I don't think. They're getting them for the content. It doesn't need to be top tier games, it just needs to be content. Let's face it, there's a lot of shit on Netflix, but they put it out anyway because it's content that keeps people subscribed. But we digress. The biggest question, I think, to button all this together in a nice little tight package, Richie, is will this force Google and the rest of the industry to rethink their approach going forward?
Yes. I think Google need to rethink their approach anyway. So I think, I don't know how much Sony will rethink, but I think they'll probably... I think they need to have a reaction. I don't think it needs to be a massive, monumental reaction, but I think it's a case of if they're potentially losing Call of Duty, they need something to take the void. That's where I think Sony need to be looking at. They'll probably got thoughts on how to replace the void of not getting getting Elder Scrolls 6. They've probably already had them thoughts. They know to think now that, okay, they're not going to get the next Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot is kind of synonymous with us even now, even though you can get it on other platforms. These are the things where they probably need to think of, like, how do they use their first-party studios to combat this? Because it might just be a case of, okay, is it Killzone?
Yeah.
Is that Sony? They might just resurrect that. Resistance. And this is going to be our alternate. Yeah. They can look at the IP they have, or maybe start new IP that is potentially there to rival it. They'll do something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the smaller guys like Luna and Google do, because this is kind of out of their league stuff. I think things like Luna and GeForce Now and Stadia trying to get in the conversation with Microsoft and Sony. And now Sony, everyone's looking at Sony going, what's your response? So I think...
Yeah, it's so weird, the fact that, like Sony, I've seen people say, like Sony aren't for sale and stuff, and, like, they just don't... They're not on the same level as Microsoft. Like, the only companies that... there's plenty of companies, but Google, Amazon, Tencent, and Microsoft are playing and Apple, 100% Apple, of course. Yeah. They're playing on a level of money that Sony, with all their camera and their mobile division and their film division, they are just not competing on the sheer scale of cash value that these other companies have in the bank. Nintendo aren't even doing that. And people who think Sony aren't for sale, if I'd asked you earlier last week if Activision was for sale, you would have said no. This amount of money is insane.
As I've said, the only reason I think this deal was even possible is because of Bobby Kotick and the toxic environment there. That's what's enabled this. Before that, I don't think this was happening. Yeah. Full stop. There's too much money on the table that why would we sell?
Yeah, why?
Unless I wanted to retire. They're
done now.
Because why? Because you're making so much money.
Yeah.
It's just no need to sell. It's
sales
of this sales like this tend to happen when there's problems at one party.
Fire sale.
Yeah, not necessarily fire sales. Like the leadership needs a change or whatever. Anyway, I think there's a conversation to be had, but I don't think we'll have it now because of how long we're into it. About a potential like exploring a Sony Stadia team up and what that could look like going forward.
I think that needs to be a SideQuest episode.
Yeah,
you're completely right. At this point, Google and Amazon, if they're serious about the games industry, Microsoft aren't leaving many cards on the table to play with. So at what point do they go, right, do we have, to round it up, 70 billion spare? Yeah, they all do. Apple do. I think Apple are one that we need to keep our eye on as well. Because they haven't made a big play for gaming yet, other than their mobile division. But the money's there. And
there's not as many things on the table at the moment. I mean, Activision Blizzard now off the table of potential studios to buy.
Yeah, and I've seen EA and Ubisoft flung around, and there's all laws and stuff that create. But like,
I don't think Ubi's for sale. I really don't.
Said Activision was for sale. It's again when money, everything has a price, right?
Yeah, I think everything has a price, but I think this sale was 68.7 billion. I think without Bobby Kotick, this might be over the 100 billion easy.
That's crazy.
I really do think that this toxic environment is what has made the sale even remotely possible. Yeah. So I think with like EA or Ubisoft, any of these big publishers still on the table, Take-Two.
Yeah,
I think the numbers would be absolutely eye-watering to the point where it's just basically you'd have to go like, we don't want to sell this, so we're going to scalp you.
Yeah,
this is the number. It's way more than the company's worth.
And this is where the lay of the land is. Do these teams, like, do they not necessarily buy out, but maybe partner up to form like kind of like a coalition almost, and say all these Western publishers, like obviously Microsoft buying them up.
I hope they don't. I hope they stay independent of each other, because that breeds more competition. Collaboration's good, but so is competition.
No, I mean like a collaboration of saying like, we're not going to sell. Like say like the Asian markets, you've got Square Enix and Sega and Konami. If they all say like, it's not in our
you're almost talking
to
like
sell up.
These mega corporations that are still on the table for these third party publishers are going to form like almost a union. Like, you know what? If you want to negotiate with one of us, you have to negotiate with all of us.
Yeah. Because like again, there's rumours like, Sega are going to get, like, when is Sony going to buy Sega? When are Konami and when are they, like, dormant franchise like Metal Gear Solid and Castlevania? PlayStation could benefit from them. But are they for sale? And it's like, well, should we all team up and say like, actually, we want to keep the industry moving, we want to stay independent. None of us are for sale, but we all need to agree to it.
The interesting thing is the Japanese big publishers seem to be not on the table as potential purchasers. Like, all the big purchases recently have all been Western studios.
Yeah. Well, remember, Microsoft tried to acquire Nintendo decades ago, and Nintendo invited Microsoft board out to Japan, laughed at them, and sent them on the plane back.
Yeah.
That's the kind of cultural difference. And I'd say I couldn't see it, but you know what? Money talks. Money talks, and shareholders go, ho ho ho. Yeah, give us it. Sold.
That is true. But there's the last point in this I'll make is there's a interesting tradition in Japan where even big corporations tend to be family run.
Yeah.
And quite often the CEO of a company, if they might adopt a 45-year-old man into his family, give him his surname so it stays in the family. Mm-hmm. So I think there's things like Toyota and Suzuki still run by people called Toyota and Suzuki. That's just a bit of the culture difference. So I think an outside investor buying up all the shares, I think, is less likely. But
I agree. I mean, Nintendo have Doug Bowser, so they literally hired someone from Bowser's Kingdom to come in and actually run the joint. So honestly, the side quest topics we can branch off from this, they're going to happen, folks. Don't worry. If you remember, you get them early. We'll break it down. But yes, I think Google and probably Amazon as well are going to have to, and Sony and Nintendo are all going to have to look at these relations thing, right? How can we compete? What do we need? And I'm sure I'd love a world where Sony say like, we'll partner with Google to do Stadia and PlayStation, and all these exclusives will come to Stadia, and Sony has cloud gaming on masses on Nintendo do. But that's for another day, Richie. That's been the Microsoft fallout, no pun intended, from a $68.7 billion acquisition. Let's wind it
Let's
down.
move on. Yeah.
Turn the page over to let you fine folks out there know what is coming to Stadia, because we've got a game confirmed. That's right.
Story
confirmed.
number 2.
Story number 2 at the 1 hour mark. Elemental War 2 has been confirmed by Clockwork Origins. They had a blog post put out on their website declaring their past and future for 2022 and what they're working on. And within such blog, they commented on their last game, which was Elemental War, the original, released in 2019. And for those eagle-eyed people out there on the World Wide Web, of course, if anyone read the Stadia Source article this week, penned by yours truly once again, Elemental War 2 is stated to release in 2022. And for those who've read the description, it will be coming to Steam, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 port at a later date, and Google Stadia. And they've got a partnership with Google Stadia. On the main page, they do reference a partnership with Google Stadia, which may lead to more than one title. But essentially, if you're not too sure what Elemental War 2 is, because I certainly wasn't, Richie, when I when I found the story, Elemental War 2 is essentially a tower defense game that you can see from the trailer, those watching along. That features hordes of monsters coming out of a pit to hell that's been accidentally opened up, and you have to fight and defend them using a bunch of unique skills and abilities. Very similar, I would say, to Orcs Must Die 3, if not almost identical visually to it.
Yeah.
Did you know of Elemental War prior to this announcement?
No, this was the first I heard of it. I think the big difference I can see between this and Orcs Must Die is this is a more traditional tower defense, where Orcs Must Die is more of an action tower defense. So you're playing a character in the world while you're dropping traps and stuff, where this is very much you've got your clear lanes, you're top down dropping a tower. But it looks fun. I actually do like tower defense games. Mm-hmm. They're quite a fun way of wasting some time.
It certainly does. So reading from the website as well, Elemental War 2 takes you into a threatened world. Hordes of monsters suddenly pour out of the abyss of hell from a faulty summoned portal. You'll manage and build a defensive line or defensive towers against the forces of evil in time. Features include the popular tower defense game Principle with new gameplay elements. Face powerful elementals and their special abilities. They might be just characters, I guess, within it. Solve quests to follow and unlock different upgrades for your towers. Play 11 varied maps with 3 unique environments, forests, ice, deserts, etc. Play alone or in co-op mode, and compare yourself with others in a global leaderboard. And I'd imagine this game, I've heard from my trusty sources, that this is going to have some steady unique features as well.
All right.
So look out for an
that might be where
Stadia
the partnership
Source.
comes in.
Yeah, look out for an article on Stadia Source later this week regarding this title. But yes, Stadia exclusive features. So my guess would be, with it being tower defense, it may be something to do with crowd choice. So you can choose what defensive things you have maybe in your arsenal. So I could say, I want to vote for a tower or a trebuchet or a brick wall or a fire pit.
It depends. I think this could easily have almost a map generator in, if you can make your own maps, and then you could use Stream Connect. That could be cool.
Okay, interesting.
I mean, that's complete speculation of how a Stadia feature could be implemented, but it could be interesting.
Yeah, certainly. So look out for Elemental War 2 and probably some updates later on this year when we finally hear stuff from PlayStation, from Stadia. Moving on to story number 3, we've also got some quick updates towards GDC. So the Video Game Developers Conference is building up towards a March showcase, and we've stressed before how important these sessions are to companies like Google and stuff who are trying to build relationships with developers in a pandemic world. And they usually put out a kind of pre-show questionnaire, and the statistics are up on the website now for you to go find and read yourself if you're interested in such. And I just wanted to go through a few of the quick questions, Richie, and highlight over 2,700 developers they've talked to about their work. And question 1 was, which platform are you developing a project currently for? And Stadia sits at a cool 3% of the results, with Project xCloud at 3% also, PlayStation Now at 1%, and Amazon Luna at 1% as well. So I think small chunks in the grander scheme. I think
it's weird, the PlayStation Now and Xbox stuff, because obviously PlayStation up there at 31%, Xbox is up there at 27%. So I think this one depends how the studios answered that. So it's, although PlayStation Now, I think it's probably quite low. I think the xCloud numbers, I think, might be published lower than they probably actually are. They might not be intentionally developing for xCloud, but the development could go that way.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
They then follow that up with which platforms will you be developing and your next project for? And to break that down, focusing on cloud as well. We've got xCloud's in at 4%, Stadia's at 3%, PlayStation Now 2%, and Amazon Luna at 1% as well. Although Linux is at 8%, so it's interesting how this graph broke down into
the Linux thing.
platforms.
I think it's getting boosted probably by Steam Deck.
Yeah, true as well. We should point out in these graphs, and again, go look at the statistics yourself, but it breaks everything down. It's like PS5 and PS4 are separate, VR headsets are separate, so this is a very broken down graph of like very niche gaps, but 3% for Stadia. Moving on, we've got which platforms most interest you as a developer right now. Stadia clocks in at 5%, xCloud at 8%, and Amazon Luna at 2%. So interesting to see Stadia a little bit higher than Luna, although I can see Luna beta. So
yeah, I was just about to touch on that. I think Luna, that's the problem. Luna is only available in the US. If when Luna gets its full launch, I think them numbers might spike up a bit, but who knows yet? Like the big takeaway here is cloud gaming is kind of low down the priority list.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one genuinely will grow over the next few years.
Yeah.
But how high it goes and who's in that mix is yet to be seen.
Indeed. They ask a few other questions, because remember, these questions are to the developers, so these are the people making your games out there. These are arguably the most important people that matter. Forget Bobby Kotick, these are the boots on the ground people who are doing the grunt work and making your precious hobby a reality. And the next question is, do you think Valve's Steam Deck will be a viable gaming platform long term? 36% said yes, 17% said no, and 47% said unsure.
My take on this is, I'm with the current revision. I think long term is a no, but I think more revisions will come in the future.
Yeah, indeed.
Which is probably why you get so high in unsure, because it's a case of, I've imagined a lot of developers looked at the specs and going, it's fine for now. Indeed. But in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, what they're going to do. So if it's a success, which it's looking like it's going to be, and then Valve keep making iterations on it, Steam Deck 2, Steam Deck 3, and so on in years, yeah. We'll see. So that's one where I think it really depends on how people read what they think Valve might do. So.
Another fun one to come out of this was interest in cryptocurrencies, NFTs. So are the people making your games that bothered? That because the publishers would make us think so.
If the publishers are interested, the developers probably don't care.
See. What is your studio's interest in cryptocurrencies as a payment tool? Very interested, 6%. Somewhat, 21%. Not interested, 72%. Yeah, there it goes. What is your studio's interest in NFTs? Like not cryptocurrency, but NFTs. 7% very interested, 21% not. Somewhat not interested, 70%. So it's good to know that people making our games.
They're not that bothered about crypto.
Not in the slightest. And then it goes on to ask all loads of other questions as well. It's actually a shame there's not more questions focused on cloud gaming, which I think there was on last year's report. If I remember, I think there was a few more questions asking about the future cloud gaming, but I think cloud gaming is a thing that they're all consciously aware of now.
I think the first few questions kind of show you can kind of pretty much take all the info you need about cloud gaming out of that, where it's still low priority.
Yeah.
People are interested in it. The interest is probably growing year on year, but it's not there. It's not widely adopted in the consumer space, so it's just...
Yeah, indeed.
It's a slow burn. It'll catch up.
Yeah, we know it's a slow burn. The future is a slow burn in general. But that was from the GDC Developers Conference Pack. That's interesting. And there's a little caveat side note to this as well. As we creep towards GDC, you'll start to see loads of little companies pop up with listings and agendas. And picked out from this week, there's a company called Backtrace who they host digital events. And one of them they're hosting in the next coming weeks in February. It's called a one-day virtual game developers summit. So it's kind of like an online, basically get together. And one of the speakers is for the speak presentation leaning into the cloud native, and that is Ryan Bartley of Google Stadia. Will be presenting on the agenda. So that's in between people from Epic Games, the Unity engine, There's somebody else. There's a panel discussion with Epic, Google, and some other companies. So again, Stadia is still out there, and they are going to be out there. And I think this GDC could potentially be more important to them than the first one was, because they're working against the tide now, I believe. So we'll have to see what the future holds with that one. But moving away from GDC, Richie, onto the next story of the week, we have a lot of games got announcements this past week, which great for me as a gamer, not so great as a Stadia player who is yet to really hear about what the hell is going to happen in the next few months. Now we have Rainbow Six Extraction, AAA, out the door. We know about Ubisoft's Avatar game, which is scheduled potentially back end of this year.
Yeah.
Nothing else. So to clarify the news story, we had WWE 2K 2022 got a release date for March 11th. So that is just over. Well, actually, it's actually under 2 months away now, which is quite a quick turnaround for a WWE game. It's surprise. I know they didn't do one last year. Yeah, but that goes back to, we have 2K games on the platform. We have WWE games on the platform with Battlegrounds, albeit it's rubbish.
Yeah, 2K's been on the platform. I think they didn't support NBA 2K very well. So there's that caveat.
Which one did we get? At all? Is it 21 was?
Well, I mean, I think
22 didn't come.
Yeah, I think 20. I can't remember off the top of my head. One of them was very much poorly supported, and then I don't. So I think there's that. It's worth mentioning that as a caveat for 2K. Anything 2K.
Yeah, I think we got 20. 21 was not kept up to date with patches and updates, and 22 didn't come full stop.
Yeah.
For the NBA, but again, it's a different studio. It's under the 2K banner. We've got a wrestling game, but we don't know anything. 2 months out till release, folks. It's available for pre-order everywhere else now, and looking on Google Stadia storefront, nothing there. So that's one. And moving on to the same story, but the next one. I'm thrilled to announce, Richie, that Lego, the Star Wars Skywalker Saga, finally locked in a release date after many, many delays and pushback. It's been 5 years in development. It will be releasing on April 5th from WB Studios, which, if you're curious, we did an entire side quest about Warner Brothers games and why we believe this year is a great year to get them on the Stadia platform, because they've got an absolute slew of games coming out, from Hogwarts Legacy to the Skywalker Lego games, to not called Arkham, is it? Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad. All we have on the platform from WB is Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of weird relationship there, and we should also caveat that, remember, we do have Arkham Knight running on Stadia's white label tech through AT&T. So Warner Brothers are working with Google behind the scenes. We just have nothing in the pipeline for this year. And the reason this almost worries me in a way, Richie, is now the year is starting to... February is on the horizon, ironically, with Horizon from PlayStation as well.
Yeah.
The games are going to come thick and fast now. So this is WWE in March, Skywalker Saga in April, not counting all the other games out there, and we've got nothing. That's
what we're seeing. We're starting to get to that point where developers are starting to announce the dates of stuff that they said it's going to come in early 2022. They start, here's your dates. They're starting to come. But we'll see what happens with Stadia.
But this is it, and this is where silence doesn't work. And as we creep into February, we're creeping close to a year to the day since their last announcement, which was closing their first-party studios. They've not said anything since then. No Connects, no E3, no Game Awards. In fact, Richie, have you seen this week they've been getting some crap because their Twitter account hasn't even been tweeting? Rainbow Six Extraction launched this week, and the Stadia official account didn't even acknowledge it.
That's interesting.
Nothing. Yeah, there was no Collect Extraction today on either Ubisoft Connect or Buyout, Ubisoft Plus or Buyout Right. They did a retweet of a video prior to launch. But
this might be them adapting to Grace being missing.
Potentially. But should someone not be checking the social feeds and ensuring that, the only AAA launch of the year we've got a date for, nothing.
Yeah, actually, their last tweet that is on January the 14th, which is 9 days ago. 9 days ago from the time of recording.
For a global Twitter account from a massive corporation like Google.
Yeah.
Odd.
You expect basic daily tweets.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, daily. Even if it's just keeping engagement levels up. We put out as many tweets as we can. But either way, we digress on that one. Hogwarts Legacy has also had a bit of an update. So there was rumours that it's going to get delayed. Possibly WB thinking their slate for this year is too busy. However, they've came out and they've reiterated that we've heard things about it's in some kind of trouble and stuff, J.K. Rowling aside and all that stuff, but they've announced this week that no, it's still on track to be coming in 2022, and we'll see more. So again, this is another title from WB that we don't have a locked on date outside of 2022, but for an open world action RPG Harry Potter game, I'd like to think we should be, again, we've said on SideQuest and stuff before, Richie, but we're in the third year now.
Yeah.
Why are we being kept in the dark about what games we get to play this year?
Yeah, I think this is probably the weakest January for Stadia in terms of announcements of things coming to the platform, because we haven't had any.
I mean, next week we'll get our pro games for February, which will include Life is Strange Remastered, which I know it's coming in February, but it should have been out in September last year. So it's not like this is a great news. This is a delayed game that we're hopefully going to get as pro as promised in February. Aside from that, I don't think aside from Avatar, there's anything we know about for the next 11 months. At all.
We can't wait till probably November for Avatar. You need to have something coming.
Oh yeah. How the hell are we going to do another 30 podcast episodes if we don't have any like, I for one think Elemental War 2 looks great, but it isn't quite the level of Star Wars, Harry Potter and Batman.
Yeah.
In gauges of interest.
It's one of them games, if it comes in pro, I might jump in, have a bit of fun. But if it doesn't come to pro, I'm probably just going to pass on it. No offense to the developers, but there's other games that coming that are going to take my time, and my time is limited, so...
Indeed. But moving away from games, let us know if you think we'll hear anything. I don't know, by spring. I don't want to put a date on it, but it's got to be soon, right? Like I said, the next big one is March with the WWE title. We don't know. But let's talk about some games we do know about, Richie. This last week, if you checked out our good friend John Scow over on 4Scars Gaming, he did a fantastic interview with one of the developers for 100 Days, the winemaking simulator, and it recently we reported it last week, but it got touch input controls on Stadia, and it works terrifically. But if you go and watch the interview, there's some great points that they picked out on there, just highlighting a bit of a peek behind the curtain with the world of Stadia. And one of them was, within their initial contract of the game has the option to go pro after 6 months. So we've kind of got that now. If you're looking at games that might come pro for February, you might just want to look back 6 months and see what games released on the platform back in the day. They also confirmed that the game wouldn't exist without the help of Stadia and the publishing team, because they were short on cash flow while they were making the game. They needed an X amount more. They had a word with Stadia and the Stadia Makers program, and they managed to get funding for the game to be created. So it's a really good interview. I won't take all the time away from it, because I definitely recommend go checking it out as part of John's show over there. Really insightful, and Yeez, who was the developer who tweeted about Direct Touch before, we've covered on the show. He was just so honest and engaging, and knew all the right kind of ways to describe things and working behind the scenes, put it into layman's terms for you and me who aren't video game developers. It's just really interesting to listen to, so go check that one out. Really good to see. And that kind of follows on to our next story, which is Darkside Detective. Over on Twitter, the Darkside Detective Twitter account posted out asking people who is enjoying Fumble in the Dark. Of course, was one of your January Pro games. Have you been checking out the new Christmas case? We did a Let's Play series of it, Richie, a few Thursdays back. Really fun. Lent our voices to them. And naturally, we said from the beginning that this point-and-click adventure would be great with direct touch input. Well, hopefully we won't have to wait too much longer, because they've confirmed on Twitter that we'll hope to have direct touch available by the time the next case drops on the platform.
Awesome.
Terrific. Awesome.
That's like 2 bits of news there, really. You're getting another case on the platform and you're getting direct touch.
Yeah, indeed. And I think when we actually booted the game up, there was the 2 coming soon case slots.
We did predict it. Predict it is like there's 2 empty slots. So
yeah, huge prediction there.
Yeah.
What are the lottery numbers this week, Richie?
Well, there's gonna have some numbers between 1 and 50.
That is true. You're not wrong there. Win the lottery, and then we can buy Activision back from Microsoft. wouldn't even come close. I don't think the lottery goes that high.
No.
Final quick stories for the week then. WatchDogs Legion has wrapped up. Ubisoft confirmed this week that now the final DLC is out. A spokeswoman for the team said, "The game has grown by leaps and bounds with a ton of content to explore, from a sprawling near-future city to an action-packed online mode. We couldn't be prouder of the game we've created, and we appreciate all of you who've joined us on this journey in London over the last year." Basically, Richie, WatchDogs Legion is done.
Yeah,
and
it was expected.
Quite frankly, I think the franchise will be done for quite some time now.
Yeah, they keep with every Watchdog. They keep trying to reinvent Watchdogs. I don't think they know what it is.
No,
and I think the timing of this was terrible. What was it? You put Immortals: Phoenix Rising, a new interesting looking IP, and Assassin's Creed in the same month as this. It's like this looked like the weakest of the three. And unfortunately, I think the Ubisoft almost put it out to die. I
mean, it felt like that. As someone who's
got
the platinum trophy, it just, the biggest thing I didn't like is it didn't have a main protagonist. You played as random people, which I could see it would work in other games, but when your first two entries in the franchise have been a story-focused narrative with one person, to suddenly go, oh, play as this guy, and if you don't have the story with another randomer.
Yeah, you don't have that. I see what they're trying to do, but when you lose that connection to your main character, it's like, you don't care.
You don't care. It's like TV shows when they've got too many characters. You don't commit to one. So someone dies and it's like, or someone leaves the show, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Of course, Bloodlines was the last expansion, which had like the zombie mode in, which I think was them trying to pivot and do something fun with the world, because London looks beautiful and like the game is fun to play. It's just you don't give a shit about the story. That's the reality of it, and it's in London. It's our capital home. We should love it, but
they tried something. It didn't really work.
It didn't. Watch Dogs 2 for the win. Go play Watch Dogs 2. Lovely sun-baked San Francisco, loads of fun, and a compelling main protagonist as well, and on sale everywhere as well if you want to pick it up. Part of Ubisoft Plus. And then final news story for the week, Richie. We'll wrap this one out with a nice little one. We don't know much on it so far, so we can't talk too much. But Google are reportedly preparing a new Chromecast device powered by the Google TV software and interface. Richie, you and me both have the new Chromecast with Google TV.
We do.
I love mine. I love how snappy the remote is. It works so much faster. I don't really use it for Stadia because I've got my PC and my other Chromecast Ultra set up. However, the rumour is, reading from 9to5 Google, that they've found some documentation and broken down an APK file for something codenamed Boreal, or I guess it's Borealis maybe? Boreal, I'm not too sure. No specs or other clues are currently available, but the fact that it's running on the Google TV specification, it's kind of leaning towards potentially being a different Chromecast device.
Yeah, I think it's likely. I mean, I think having a two-tiered device in the Chromecast space has always made sense for them, and with the price of the Google TV, that's closer to the original Chromecast than the Ultra, despite that spec-wise it is actually outperforms the Ultra. Mm-hmm. I think the next one will be like a Pro, the Pro model. Like it'll probably like up to higher refresh rates. I don't know if this will have any impact at all on Stadia, because the current Chromecasts are more than adequate to handle Stadia.
That's true. That's true. We'll see. Carl Bradshaw over at 9to5 Google, he theorises it might be something to compete with like the Nvidia Shield TV series, some more of like a high-end like box rather than just a dongle.
I think it'll still be a dongle. I do think it might still be a dongle. But what's the difference really between a dongle and a box apart from the size of it?
Yeah, I could see it being something to combat maybe with like Apple TV as well, where it is like a box that has the content as part of it. All I would really ask is that it comes preloaded with Google Stadia. Don't wait until spring 2023 until the software is available. It needs to be there at launch. It's your own product. Don't mess it up again.
Get your gaming bundle sorted for have this bundled in with a Stadia controller as an option. Don't do what they've done with the Google TV, where it's like it finally came, but it took like 6 months. It needs to be there on launch.
Indeed. But we'll report on that as we learn more. Yeah. And to round the show out, Richie, I wanted to look back at the NPD software reports for the entirety of 2021. Best-selling games. So we've got the top 10 list. And I just want to break them down just as we reminisce and look back. So, best-selling games from the MPD group, for 2021. So all of last year. In at number 10, Super Mario World 3D. 10. Not including digital sales because Nintendo doesn't report on them. Number 9, MLB The Show. Number 8, Resident Evil Village. Stadia game. 7, Mario Kart 8. The evergreen Mario Kart 8.
If you want to know why Nintendo don't bring out a Mario Kart 9, this is why. They don't need to.
Evergreen, of course. In at number 6, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. In at number 5, surprisingly, Battlefield 2042, which I haven't heard a thing about for over a month now.
You have to remember though, there was a lot of hype going into that game. Because it kind of fell off massively. Mm-hmm. That still counts to a lot of sales. Yeah. Look at Cyberpunk. How much Cyberpunk sold, despite the state it was in outside of Stadia and PC.
How much must EA and Battlefield be kicking themselves that they didn't land the plane perfectly? With all this stuff going on with Microsoft and Call of Duty, Battlefield could fill that void for PlayStation or anywhere else. And Battlefield had the
potential to be number 1 this year, I reckon.
Yeah, it really did. Moving on at number 4, we've got the combination of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which is
makes sense.
Bear in mind, that game came out in December. So that's impressive. And again, not including digital. So however many digital would have bumped it potentially up the ladder. Madden NFL 2022. And then in at number 2, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which came out in 2020. So when we spoke at the beginning of the show about how big Call of Duty is, this year's Call of Duty was the only thing to pip last year's Call of Duty to the number 1 slot. Vanguard coming in at number 1.
And we have Microsoft now no mention. Them. And there's no mention of Warzone and everything that Warzone's raking in.
Yeah, that's a whole separate thing. So the biggest takeaway there is there's one Stadia game in Resident Evil Village, which isn't the best, but the market is so split. I do believe Miles Morales is everyone who picked up a PS5, picked up Miles Morales. Everyone who picked up a Switch, picked up Mario Kart, probably Super Mario World 3D, and possibly Pokemon. Again, different markets.
Pokemon, I think, is always going to do well. Just the nature of that franchise is huge.
Yeah. And when you look at best-selling games for December and stuff, you've got Guardians of the Galaxy was in there, and FIFA's there, of course, as always, and Madden and other sports titles. Yeah. And the biggest thing for me, we've said it time and time again, Richie, but pushing forward into this year and next year and the year beyond that, Stadia needs to be at a point where it's got more than one game in this top 10. It's got 10%, that's it. And it's been out for 3 years. So going forward, it needs to have the Battlefields. It needs to have... Oh, do we have Madden? Is Madden on? Madden, sorry.
Madden has potential.
Madden is on Stadia. So 20% of the titles are available. Yeah. But yes. Work to be done. It would appear, Richie. But that's all we have time for. Yeah. Unless you want to say that extra little bit there.
I was just going to say, for the titles in this exclusives, I'm not sure about MLB The Show. If it's
almost like exclusives matter to some degree as well. To pulling people
so that means at least 50% of this list is gettable. Well, was gettable.
Yeah, not anymore, Microsoft. Thank you very much for that. But that, ladies and gentlemen, has been it for episode 122 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining us as we go through our cloud adventure together. We do appreciate you supporting the channel, myself, Richie, and Tom, as we play games, talk about games, love video games and the industry at large, no matter how much money is flung around. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell if you haven't done so already. And do please share us with your friends and other fellow Stadia and cloud gaming players out there so they can find our content, we can improve our content, and we can bring you better stuff week in, week out. Don't also forget that you can join us over on Thursday as we play video games as part of our weekly live stream events. Join in, play along. We do a multitude of games and we would love to have you there just as much, Richie, as we'd love to have them in our Discord chat for loads of lovely conversation with fellow like-minded gamers such as yourself. Final point from me, don't forget to check out SideQuest. We're going to potentially have 2 episodes of, one with a super special guest. We're going to be talking about EA games and what they could mean for the platform in 2022. Now Call of Duty is off the table and all the other titles that come with that one. But more importantly, special guest for our annual anniversary celebration of episode 52 of SideQuest. It's been delightful. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
We've been Helix Cloud Games, bringing you Sounds of Stadia. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, play whatever makes you the happiest. Have a great week. Goodbye.